Hey guys, welcome back to One Stop Biology. So today we are going to discuss a new topic. So we are right now basically going through the anatomy of flowering plants, and we have already discussed the tissues, the tissue system, and then in the very last video, we discussed the anatomy of dicot and monocot root. So in today's video, we are going to discuss the anatomy of dicot and monocot stem. So guys, again, this is very important from the exam point of view. Please remember that in the coming NEET 2021 exam, although there are rumors that there's going to be a change of syllabus, the syllabus will be getting reduced because of this COVID situation, and the school have not been very regular. But I don't think so that the syllabus of NEET for biology is going to change so much, specifically these chapters where we are going to study morphology, anatomy, and physiology of plants and animals, right? So please remember that these topics are very important, and if you have any doubt, do not forget to mention in the comment. Do not forget to ask questions. Do not hesitate in asking questions in the comment section of the video. And yes, if you do understand the complete video, please do not forget to like it as well and share it with your friends, right? So let's start with the dicot stem first, right? So the TS, the transverse section of a typical young dicotyledonous stem, the dicot stem, basically shows that the epidermis is the outermost layer of the stem again, as we saw in the case of the dicot root, right? So the outermost layer is the of epidermis, which is also a protective layer. Guys, remember it is also a protective layer. Now, that epidermis is basically covered with a thin layer of cuticle as well in the case of stem. So, what we studied previously is that in the case of stem and root, usually the epidermis is covered with a layer of cuticle, but not in the case of root, right? So basically, it is covered with a thin layer of cuticle, and it may also bear trichomes and a few stomata. Okay, and if you do not know what trichomes are or what exactly stomata is, I would request you to go through the previous videos because I have explained all these structures in the tissue system, right? So remember that in case of dicot stem, it is epidermis, which is the outermost protective layer of the stem, and this epidermis is covered with a thin layer of cuticle, right? And it may also bear trichomes and stomata. Okay, now the cells here are arranged in multiple layers between epidermis and pericycle, and these cells constitute the cortex. So what, let's do one thing. Let's just see the diagram and understand all the layers in the diagram itself. So this, if you see, these both are nothing but two different view of the dicot stem, right? And now if you see, you'll see that these are nothing but the epidermal hair. Epidermal hair are known as trichomes. These are known as trichomes, right? Now, just below that is the layer of epidermis, which is the outermost protective layer. Okay, now below that, so basically now you'll see that the zone of cortex, right? The entire layer of cortex has three subzones, right? So the first one, the outer zone basically is of hypodermis. So the layer immediately after epidermis is hypodermis. Right. So this hypodermis layer consists of a few layers of collenchyma cells which are just below the epidermis. And what is the function of the of hypodermis? What is the function of these collenchymatous cells? Basically, they provide mechanical strength to the young stem. It provides mechanical strength, right? Now, just below the hypodermis, we have the cortical layers. What do we have? We have the cortical layers below hypodermis, which consist of rounded, thin-walled. Remember, rounded, thin-walled parenchymatous cells with conspicuous intercellular, with very, very small, very, very minute intercellular spaces, right? Now, the innermost layer of the cortex is nothing but endodermis. It is endodermis. So basically, we have the hypodermis, which is colon-chymatous cells. Then we have the cortical layers, which is nothing but parenchyma, which is made up of parenchymatous cells. And then we have endodermis. So basically, these three layers here, remember guys, these three layers here form the cortex, right? Now, the cells of endodermis, the innermost layer of cortex, are rich in starch. Okay, so they are rich in starch, and this layer is also referred to as starch sheath. So the cells of endodermis are rich in starch grains, and the layer is also referred to as the starch sheath. Okay. Now, inside the endodermis, basically towards the inner side of the endodermis, we have the layer of pericycle. We have pericycle, right? And above the phloem, basically this is present towards the inner side. If you see here, this is the endodermis, right? So this layer is the endodermis. So this is present towards the inner side of the endodermis and just above the phloem. It is present just above the phloem, and it is present in the form of semi-lunar patches of sclerenchyma. So you say basically saying how we have different types of cells present in different layers. We have collenchymatous cells, we have parenchymatous cells, and now in the pericycle, we have sclerenchyma. So they have basically semi-lunar patches of sclerenchyma. Now, in between the vascular bundles, there are few layers of radially placed parenchymatous cells, which forms the medullary rays. So basically, these gaps that you see here, these are nothing but the medullary rays. Okay, and here, just above here, that you see the above the pericycle is nothing but the vascular bundle consisting of xylem and phloem, and then in the middle you have the pith. So this is one, one angle. I'll explain the other angle as well, right? So basically, a large number of vascular bundles are arranged in a ring, and this ring arrangement of vascular bundles is a characteristic feature of a dicot stem. So if at any time someone asks you, can you tell me a specific feature or a characteristic feature of a dicot stem, what would be your answer? That in the case of Dicot stem, the vascular bundles are arranged in the form of a ring, right? These vascular bundles are conjoined, open, and with enlarged protoxylem. Guys, I'll tell you once again, I have already explained conjoined, open, and enlarged protoxylem. All these, different points in the previous videos. So wherever I'll be using these terms, I'm not going to explain it again and again. I would rather request you to go through the previous videos. So the dicot stem vascular bundles are conjoined. So they are conjoined, They're open and they have enlarged protoxylem. Okay, now a large number of rounded parenchymatous cells with large intercellular spaces, and that basically occupies the central portion of the stem which constitutes the pith. So basically this area, this region constitutes the pith, right? So if I explain the same thing in the form of this layer, transverse layer, again, these are the epidermal layers, right? So these are the epidermal layers here, the epidermal hair. Then we have the endodermis. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Then we have the epidermis, the outermost protective layer. Then we have different cells, right? So we have collenchyma cells, we have parenchyma cells, we have endodermis, and then we have sclerenchyma cells in the form of pericycle. Then we have the phloem, we have the cambium in between because it's a dicot stem. We have the metaxylem, right? So these are metaxylem and these are protoxylem. You know the difference. And then we have the pith in the center, right? So this is again another view of a dicot stem, right? So this completes the entire structure of a dicot stem. Let me now explain the structure of a monocot stem and we'll see how different it is from a dicot stem. So you would have noticed few things here that we have one. We have what? We have cambium as well, right? And we don't have cambium in the case of a monocot structure, if you remember that. So let's see structure of a monocot stem, right? Now, monocot stem basically has a sclerenchymatous hypodermis. Let me just go to the diagram itself. So basically, this is the structure of a monocot stem. Again, two different views. Now, monocot stem has a sclerenchymatous hypodermis, right? So one thing is common, which is epidermis. Epidermis will always be the outermost layer, right? So this is the epidermis. Then we have the hypodermis. Hypodermis is the sclerenchymatous hypodermis. And what was in the case of dicot stem? In the case of dicot stem, basically the hypodermis was made up of collenchymatous cells, right? Now, after that, we have a large number of scattered vascular bundles. So there we had the vascular bundles. In the case of dicot stem, we had the vascular bundles arranged in a ring. Here, these are scattered all over the internal structure of the stem, and each are surrounded by a sclerenchymatous bundle sheath. So they have the bundle sheath just outside the vascular bundles, and they also have a conspicuous parenchymatous ground tissue. So if I show you here, basically these are nothing but the vascular bundles. And then we have a large area which is present in between these vascular bundles, which are of ground tissue. So when we were studying the tissue system, We studied epidermal tissue system, ground tissue system, and vascular tissue system, right? So these are the ground tissue system that are present in the monocot stem, right? Now, in the case of monocot stem, vascular bundles are conjoined, but closed. They do not have cambium, right? So they are conjoined and closed. Now the peripheral vascular bundles, usually the vascular bundles which are towards the periphery, like these one, are smaller than the central liquid. So if you see in this diagram as well, the ones present in between are bigger than the ones which are present over the periphery, right? So these are basically the peripheral ones are smaller than the centrally located ones. Now here there's one more thing that the phloem parenchyma is absent, right? So the phloem parenchyma is absent and water containing cavities are present within the vascular bundle. So second thing is that water containing cavities are present within the vascular bundles. Okay, so this is the entire diagram of a monocot stem. This basically is one view. If I have to explain you the other view as well, we can see different layers. The first one being the layer of epidermis, which is the outermost layer, which is protective in nature. Then we have the layer of hypodermis, which is sclerenchymatous. Then we have scattered vascular bundles. We have inside the vascular bundle, we have phloem and we have xylem. And then in the overall structure, we have ground tissue. Right? So this is the entire structure of a monocot stem. You can see that this is way simpler. This is way, normal or less complex than the Dicot Stem one, right? There the structure was more complex. So basically, both the structures are very, very important. You'll have to understand what are the clear-cut differences between both the structures. You'll have to understand the meaning and functioning of each and every word mentioned in the diagram. And what I would suggest is that you practice these diagrams help which will help you in your boards as well as which is that will help you in understanding the topic more clearly for your NEET preparation as well. So guys, we have finished the dicot and monocot stem as well, and in the next video we are going to cover the dicot and monocot leaf. So I hope you understood both the structures and functioning of these structures very clearly. Please do like the video and share it with your friends as much as you can if you understood the video, and if you didn't, if you have any small doubt, maybe small or big, you do not forget to ask your doubts immediately in the comment section of this video, or you can also message your doubts over WhatsApp through WhatsApp message on the number given in the description of the video. Thanks guys, bye bye.